Welcome to Royal Haunts and Part 3 of the House of Hanover. William IV came to the throne in 1830, not possibly thinking he could be any more than the Duke of Clarence. George IV was still relatively young, and like his forefathers expected to settle in for a long reign, and he did have a daughter to succeed him. But that all changed when Princess Charlotte died after giving birth to a stillborn son. It meant that the unmarried brothers of George IV had to rally. William had taken up a naval career, and rather than being told who to marry, had set up house with an actress named Dorothea Jordan. This relationship produced several offspring, with one of the line becoming Prime Minister David Cameron. William married Princess Adelaide after meeting her just a few days earlier, and because of this marriage of convenience, doing his duty to keep the House of Hanover ticking over, he was paid by Parliament. However, the marriage did not produce any children, with the next in line eventually being the daughter of his deceased brother, Edward. Victoria was but a young girl in the custody of her mother, who, if William IV died before her daughter came of age, would rule as regent. This was something William IV found unpleasant, as much as he did the woman herself, who was rumoured to be having an affair with her secretary, Sir John Conroy, and having control over her daughter was set to rule from behind the throne once Victoria turned of age. However, William managed to rule for 6 years and 7 months, just enough time for Victoria to come of age. He was taken ill at Windsor Castle, where he died of a heart attack, leaving an 18-year-old girl to become Queen of England and eventually Empress of India. Victoria was proclaimed Queen just 27 days after her 18th birthday, being given the succession with no need for regency. Victoria's father died from pneumonia when she was 8 months old, and with Victoria being very likely to one day take the throne, her mother kept a tight rein on her. She wasn't allowed to go out unaccompanied, and slept in the same room as her mother. Once Victoria took the throne on her uncle's death, she was strong enough to pull away from her mother's influence and make the seat of monarchy her own. First she chose who she wanted for her husband, though it didn't sit well. Apart from Prince Albert being a first cousin, he was thought to be of a too lowly birth to be consort to a queen. However, the couple set up home at Buckingham Palace, making it the royal residence and producing 9 children. First there was Victoria, who was created Princess Royal and went on to marry Prince Frederick of Prussia. Albert Edward, who took the name Edward to distinguish him from his father, was born 1 year later, destined to become Edward VII. Then came Princess Alice, who married Frederick III, the Grand Duke of S, with their daughter marrying the Tsar Nicholas of Russia, victims of the Russian Revolution. The second son born, Prince Alfred, was second in line to the throne. He took up a career in the Navy and was the first British prince to visit Australia. It was also in Australia where an assassination attempt was made on his life. Being shot in the back, narrowly missing his spinal cord, Prince Alfred recovered, while his would-be assassin, Henry James O'Farrell, was tried, convicted, and 40 days later hanged. The 5th child was Princess Eleanor, who married Prince Christian. The couple remained in England, with Eleanor being an unofficial secretary to her mother. Princess Louise married the 9th Duke of Argyll, a marriage that suffered several separations up to his death. The 3rd son, Prince Arthur, took up a military career which saw him active in both World War I and World War II. The last son, Prince Leopold, was diagnosed with haemophilia while a child and required constant medical attendance. Attempting to make a life for himself, he married and had a daughter with a second child on the way when he fell, hurting his knee. Being given morphine, the dose is said to have killed him at the age of 30. His son, Prince Charles Edward, was born 4 months later. The last child, Princess Beatrice, was 4 years old when Prince Albert died. Queen Victoria kept her close, rejecting the many marriage proposals that came her way. Eventually she relented, and at 28 years old Beatrice married Prince Henry of Battenberg. It was on December the 14th, 1861, when Victoria's beloved Albert died, and that was when she took an interest in the paranormal. Consulting psychics and mediums, it's said that an estate worker named John Brown, during a séance, channeled Albert so that he could continue to advise the Queen and be like he never left. It's also been said that Victoria went through some form of marriage with the servant, and among certain circles she became known as Mrs. Brown. John Brown died in 1883, having been a gamekeeper at Balmoral Castle from it being built by Victoria and Albert. After Albert's death, John Brown became more of a personal servant to the Queen, often carrying her from one room to another. This did not go down well with the family, as did neither Victoria's wish to have items of John Brown placed in her casket. But even in death her family dare not go against her wishes. Along with items belonging to Albert, a lock of John Brown's hair and a photo of him were placed in her left hand, and it's recently been revealed that she was interred wearing the wedding ring belonging to John Brown's mother. Victoria attempted to settle the restless spirits at the Tower of London, having the bodies of those condemned and interred inside the church within the tower given a proper burial. Over 200 bodies had been placed there, and with no markers it made identification nigh on impossible. But it was claimed that they had found and identified the remains of Anne Boleyn and Lady Jane Grey, though this doesn't appear to have had any effect on the haunting at the tower or any of the other places that lay claim to their ghosts. It was January the 22nd, 1901, after a reign of 63 years, that Queen Victoria passed peacefully away at Osborne House on the Isle of Wight, a place which claims she still visits, the scent of her jasmine perfume wafting the air. Her death meant the end of the Hanoverians, with her son taking his father's house, and so Edward VII came with a new dynasty, the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha.